Hi, everybody. Thank you guys for coming. We got like a lot of people in here. I'm pretty excited about it. For those of you guys who know me, my name is McKinnon Galloway, and we are really excited to kind of talk to you guys about NF2 Unfiltered. This session is essentially for people that are, going through NF2 and some of the hurdles and some tips and tools. Christina and I really believe that, if you have a lot of tips and tools that can help you be independent, we know NF2 takes a lot away from us, and this is help give you some of the independence back. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Who does the slide?
Do this.
We do the slide. Hang on a second.
How do you do this?
Is that next?
Bear with us.
The green.
Okay. All right.
Hi, everyone. Is my volume okay? Okay. It's one of the things with us deafies. We never know how loud we're speaking. So my name's Christine Panza. For anyone that I haven't seen, I see a lot of familiar faces. And I want to share a little bit about my background. As you can see, I have epilepsy, which led to my diagnosis with NF2 at 9. And it's been a long journey. I've had 29 surgeries since then. I'm 25 now. So, yeah, more than I'd care to admit. But in 2017, 2018, I had my first 2 brain surgeries back to back. And I lost the hearing on my left side. And then in my junior year of college, I had my 3rd surgery on my left side. And then just 2 years ago, I had my first surgery on my right side to debulk my vestibular schwannoma. And I lost all of my hearing. So I don't like to dwell on the NF2 side of things. I like to think about what I've been able to achieve just like that. So I started interning at CTF in 2014, long time ago. And I've been a panelist and speaker at a lot of events. You may have seen my face on the Make NF Visible campaign, nice and big on the big screens. And most importantly, I'm a nerd, let's face it. I went to college right after my 2nd brain surgery, and I graduated with my bachelor's degree in neuroscience. And I recently, a month ago, finished my master's degree in anatomy and neurobiology at Boston University. Thank you. So I want to devote my future to helping everyone with NF2 with treatments, and hopefully I can find you a cure. Okay.
Okay. So one of the things that I actually forgot to go over already, sorry about that. So we have pamphlets. If you guys see in our app, there's a lot of handouts and stuff, a lot of this information. So I don't want you to panic because we're going to go over a lot of products. And so I don't want you to panic about it. It's all there with links and everything. And then I have this big guide that will help you go through everything and what it's like to lose your hearing and all that jazz. So it's got a lot of information. So just sit and watch. So that would make it easy for you guys. Okay, so my story. So my name is McKinnon Galloway, and I have NF2. I am 32 years old, and I was diagnosed at 16. It was just went in for a routine MRI from a sports concussion, and they were like, you have 2 brain tumors. You're going to get deaf by the time you graduate high school. I know a lot of us have been through that, unfortunately. I have been on Avastin. I was off and on Avastin for about 7 or 8 years. And I did AR-42, which was a phase 1 medical trial. It was really rough. It did not work. And I'm currently on brigatinib. We'll see what happens with that. I have epilepsy, and in 2018, my dad committed suicide. And so I really started to understand how important it was for mental health, not just for those that have NF themselves, but for their families and loved ones alike. This is kind of really family and loved one illness. It doesn't just affect the person that has it. I went through 30 rounds of radiation and I've had 4 brain surgeries. I have facial paralysis and I am completely deaf. I do not have hearing aids, a cochlear implant, or an AVI. So there's that. So as far as my accomplishments, I'm really big on living life. I skydived, I've jumped off a few cliffs, which is probably not great. But I've done a lot of cool things. So I'm big on, like, despite your obstacles, going and do some cool stuff.
You're daredevil. I'm not daredevil.
No, you should not do it. I shouldn't do that. Okay, nobody should do that probably in this room. So anyways, so I started with the foundation with Cupids because I was 21 and I was like, this is fun with all my friends to run around in our underwear and drink. And then I became CTF 2019 National Ambassador, but I got it in 2018. And that was really amazing. I loved that. So I ended up moving into Manhattan to work for CTF for a bit. And I was an event planner. So that was pretty cool. I founded the junior board in 2019. I noticed that there was this big gap in this young demographic age group that we really could utilize and raise awareness and funding. So, they've really done the work. So it was a team effort. I've been featured in some cool places up here, as you can see. And in 2022 was kind of a nightmare year where I went through a couple brain surgeries and stuff. But, Dr. Welling's in the room and he saved my life. So thank you, Dr. Welling. I went through some of those years where I got facial paralysis and I was deaf. And I went to one of these conferences a few years ago, and Jake Life, he's in the room somewhere, but he was trying to communicate with his mom, and they communicated through texting, and I had found this kind of technology to help me through, and I realized there's a really big need for this technology, and I'm kind of a tech nerd. And so I kind of dove all into this, and I was like, people need awareness, so where do you go? It's social media. So I thought if people knew some deaf tips, if they knew, some deaf technology, if they knew some ASL, then maybe we can kind of bridge that gap a little bit and close it a little bit. So currently right now, I have about 425,000 followers across my social media platforms, which has been really awesome. I almost had 500,000, so I'd really appreciate some follows. And then I started Deaf District, which is a website that I'm actually redoing right now that has a lot of resources. And I have a little design shop, right? Which I really love. And I signed with Never Napping, which is a management agency. And I started writing a children's book, which is really exciting. And it's going to come out soon to be published. In 2025, I went and lobbied for federal funding. So that's pretty much my story. Sorry, it was a lot. Okay, balance. So every person who has NF2 has balance issues. People who don't have NF2 have balance issues. Some tips and tools that can really help is a shower seat. If you have NF2, you need to be sitting in the shower. It takes one slip up and we don't, have time for that. So you really need to be sitting down. You can get a shower seat or you can have one built in. Anti-slip mats and grip socks are really important because I have wooden floors, so I use a lot of grip socks around. Night lighting is so important just because, I don't know about you guys, my balance at night is I'm super drunk. It's terrible. So I use a lot of night lighting to help me get around, which is really awesome. You have night lights. If you can't hold one, I have this one. It's really great. But there's some around the house to the back. I also have a dog, so that's a hands-free leash. So in case I fall, I can catch myself, which is really important. Recently, my fiance and I got into hiking and camping. I don't know why, but we did. And so I have hiking poles and a headlamp for that, which really helps with their balance. Now, double-sided railing, my mom put this in my house, and I did not realize how important it is. Everybody should have this in their house regardless. This should be everyone that has this in their house. Because what you don't realize is when you go down, it's the opposite side. So if you have a stronger side, it really messes with your balance. And also grab railing, which is important. And the step stool, don't have the fold-up ones, have the ones that are secure. Understanding facial paralysis.
So we both have different and similar stories about facial paralysis. I tried not to choose the graphic photos from my surgery, but I want to talk about how facial paralysis, there's such an emotional toll in the journey of facial paralysis. It's ever evolving. And it really takes time. Everyone's on their own timeline at which they can accept their facial paralysis. But there are also options after your surgery, your AN surgery, to mediate the facial paralysis. And the surgery I had is the gracilis free flap surgery. Pretty much, they take a piece of muscle from your leg and put it in your face, so it's pretty cool. And these are photos relatively right after surgery. You can't see the scar anymore. You can see it healed. Yes, I had a swollen face for a long time, but over the years, I hope it's not swollen anymore. At least it doesn't look like it to me. And it's still, after all these years, 3 years, it's still hard for me to accept this. So I want to just emphasize that it's okay if you're still on that journey, because I'm right there with you.
So I have facial paralysis as well, and I have a little bit of a different journey than Christine. In 2022, during my fourth brain surgery, I got grade 6 facial paralysis, and there is no grade 7. So I agree with Christine that the emotional impact was something that I just wasn't expecting on how to deal with. One of the things is isolation. A lot of people don't realize this, but when you look physically disabled, you go in a room and everybody quickly looks at you and they don't want to be rude, so they look away from you. And so it's like nobody's looking at you, and it's like they're looking away from you, so it's very isolating. So that was something that kind of just took me off guard. I had a little bit of paralysis down my left-hand side, but it's starting to come back, which is pretty cool. I had an eyelid weight. I was not happy with the picture. I had an eyelid weight, and I had DAO surgery, which they cut my muscle and they popped it back up. So the mouth. So here's some stuff that can help you with the mouth. Facial exercises. So having your face heal is like watching paint dry. It's like so painfully slow. But with facial exercises, you kind of have to retrain your mouth and face, like how to move, and like tell it, hey, you're supposed to go up when you smile. Hey, this is supposed to blink. So facial exercises are so important. And I did them day and night for like 2 years. I did them for a long time. Speech therapy. If you have facial paralysis, you really should go to speech therapy, because hopefully mine's paid off. I can't do it, but hopefully you guys can understand. The speech therapy is so unbelievably important. So I would highly recommend you guys going to speech therapy if you have facial paralysis, because you can't understand, especially if you're deaf, you can't understand your mouth changes. So you need to relearn an O in the way to say it. Slurring happens if you don't go to speech therapy or when you're tired, so you need to be conscious of that. And drooling, we both deal with drooling. Have a napkin with you. Or you can have a best friend. There's my best friend pulling on my face, but she was just too expensive to hire.
So these are actually they look silly, the tips, but I use these things all the time. Chapstick. My dad's always asking me, do you have to Burt's Bees chapstick? Always. He's laughing because he knows it's true. And then that is really important, just because it helps food. It limits the amount of food that will stick to your lips, which is really important. Now, I used to have a wide mouth water bottle, and with facial paralysis, I just had to face that I was going to either take a shower in whatever beverage I had in the water bottle, or I could get a more narrow mouth water bottle. And I don't get wet every time I go for a drink instead of a water. Straws. I actually have a collapsible straw that fits in my purse. That's how important straws are. I know turtles hate me, but at least I use the compostable ones. And they just help. They help me keep water. If it's a wide cup and I have no control over it, like in a restaurant, it's useful to keep it on hand. And I will point out that it's how I blew out my 21st birthday cake, the candles. I use a straw. So if you want to see that photo, hit me up and I'll show you later. And then just wipes, face wipes, I carry around with me everywhere. And, check my face every 10 minutes. Make sure that there's nothing on my face. Again, sounds silly, pun intended, but it's helpful.
Okay, this was something that was very unexpected for me. I just thought it was your mouth not being able to swallow, but your eye is paralyzed. And that's like a pain. So some of the things that you can do is Christine and I both use preservative-free eye drops. Don't put chemicals in your eyes. It has to be preservative-free. And again, all of this stuff is in your packet with links. So prescription sunglasses is really great for me because I don't wear contacts. I currently lost mine, so if you guys see some, let me know. Moisture chambers. So moisture chambers are really great. You can wear them during the day, like as you work. Or I wore them. I was in Greece during foliars, and I wore it so the wind wasn't coming in. So it's really important to be able to cover your eye. Christine uses this eye tape. This eye tape did not work for me. It just falls off in the middle of the night. I don't know if I just have different skin, and that's important that what works for some doesn't work for everyone, right? So you kind of have to find what works for you. So this eye tape is really great for me, and I brought some samples with me. So if you guys want to try them, I do have some samples. Now, some people don't have paralysis, so make sure the people that need them try them first, because I only have so many because they're kind of expensive. Nighttime gel. So nighttime gel is really important. So what I'll do is I'll put in the nighttime gel, and then I'll tape my eye, and then I put a silk eye mask on. So I'm kind of deaf and blind at the same time that night, but it's not freaky, I promise. It feels really nice, and the silk will protect your hair. For no makeup, this was really disappointing for me. I would leave the house. I felt like, my mom when I was 16, but I would leave the house with sunglasses on. And my fiance would look at me and he'd be like, you had makeup on, we're turning the house around. We're turning the car around. And we'd go home and I'd wash my face off. So heating masks. So heating masks is really important because in your eyes, you have these things called your meibomian glands. And essentially what that is it coats the oils over your eyes. Thanks, Mom, for the educational lesson on this. But it coats the oil over your eyes. And so when you have dry eyes, it dries up like butter and it can't coat your eyes. So that heating mask helps melt it. So it's honestly good for a lot of people that just look at screens all day, too. It helps you. So I would consider getting one of those even if you don't have paralysis. A cooling mask is great for irritation. And then I use an on-the-go heating mask, which is really nice for when I travel for tired eyes. And I use a humidifier as well as Christine.
I've never used a cooling mask, but I'm willing to try it. Now, this is really, it's changed my life. It's known as the Pros lens. And I use it for battling dry eye. You can see there's a picture of it. It's on the right. It's much bigger than regular contact. But you fill it with saline pretty much. And it acts as a protection barrier for your cornea. And I can't tell you how many eye infections I had because of scratches on my eye. My cornea, and I, knock on wood, haven't had an infection in more than a year. So it's really important in keeping a healthy cornea. Boston Sight is the provider I go to. They're obviously in Boston, but I wrote providers that also supply the contact, and they're around the country. So if you're interested, I can talk to you more about it and point you to the website.
Deafness. This is a big one. So what does it feel like? When I was losing my hearing, I was really scared that, I was just going to be completely silent. And honestly, it's never silent. You hear stuff all the time. But you hear your own voice. So when I found that out, I was like, this is going to be a bruise. But one of the things with deafness is that you start to pick up like phantom hearing all the time. So like if I see it, I can hear it, which is really comforting and really nice. And I remember songs. I'm 3 years out of being deaf, and I still remember songs and can play them in my head with melodies and everything, which is really awesome. Relationships. Okay, so the communication without barriers, it talks about family and friends. It's in your packet. Because I wish we had time to talk about this today, but we don't. But one of the big questions I get is romantic relationships. And a lot of people are scared, and I totally get it. They're like, when I go deaf, is my significant other gonna leave, right? And like, here's the advice I give you, is that, would you be there for them, right? Would you do it for them? Then why shouldn't they do it for you? If they're worth it, then you're worth it. And it's really important. Now, this was really hard for us because the apps were not what they were today, and we didn't know much sign language, so we kind of sat there and looked at each other a lot. But all of these pictures, I'm completely deaf. So I want you guys to know that life continues. It still moves on. I was at a music festival here. I wanted to see how it was being deaf at a music festival and seeing if I could like feel the vibrations. That was honestly a really bad move because the vibrations are stuck in my head for the next 3 weeks. I just wouldn't recommend them.
So, like I said, I'm a nerd, but I have some great tips, especially from a recent experience I went through in graduate school. So, So I have a paper outside with more of my tips, but I want to go over the main idea. First of all, I'm going to emphasize this now. Academics, you can work through them. It will be a challenge, I'm not going to lie, but if you have the right support and the right voices that can help you speak up for what you need, you can get through it and you can be successful. Now, I know academics isn't their cup of tea, so I'll keep this very broad. I think it's very important, no matter the level of education, whether it's elementary school or graduate school, you talk with the advisors, your professors. You need to communicate with the ones that are going to be there for you every day. They need to know what you need. They need to know how they can help you, because if they don't know how you can't get mad at them, because my professor said to me, I've never had a deaf student, but you tell me what you need and I'll make it happen. So if you talk to them, I would bet $1 million that they will help you and they will at least navigate with you to the right person, to whether it's them. My professors, I was lucky enough that they were great allies for me and really supported me. But if not, they can point you in the right direction. And so, when I was in graduate school, there weren't any accommodations for hearing loss, sadly. So I'm not someone who takes no for an answer. I went to the vice dean and the dean of the school, and I told them exactly what I needed. And for a semester, I collaborated with them on deaf technology and ways that I could succeed in grad school. And they actually have an upcoming meeting to make sure these are continued accommodations available to students, because students shouldn't have to fight to learn. I mean, learning's hard enough. So if anyone has any questions or needs an ally, please come up to me after, and I'd love to learn about your story.
This is a big one. Okay, so before we get into this, I just want to talk to you guys about communications without barriers. So this is a part of a separate packet, or is also in your packet if you have NF2, this is for your friends or loved ones to be able to communicate with you, and you can print it out and give to them. Has a little bit of sign language, has a little bit of deaf technology, has a little bit of tips and tools. It is really exhausting as a deaf person having to go 150% all the way. So this kind of helps you meet them at least a little bit of that way. So for deaf technology, I'm a tech nerd, remember. So all of this stuff is going to be where? In your packet. So make sure you pay attention because it's going to be a lot. And I'll be around for questions afterwards. So in the home, so I have a sonic bomb, our alarm clock, and it literally vibrates so loud, it just like vibrates you out of the bed. It's fantastic. No other alarm clock on the market works as far as vibrations. They're unreliable and they break. But I had this guy for 10 years and he just gave out. So he's very awesome. You can have motion sensored sinks. Water is something when you first lose your hearing, you leave it on because you turn around and you just forget about it. So that's something you can do to prevent your water bill from going up. Transcribe stands. So I wanted to show you guys. So here's one that I have with me. And one of the best things about transcribe stands is honestly kind of a crappy one. I have a really nice one at home. But one of the best things about transcribe stands is for people, we are deaf and we live in a hearing world, right? We live in a hearing community. So with the stands, it's annoying holding it all the time, right? So with the stands, you can look up, say I'm sitting with my fiance and we're watching a movie. I can look at the thing, we can talk. I don't know you guys, but I like to talk during movies. And we can look and have a conversation as well as I can switch back and forth between the captions without looking at him or looking down on my phone. So it allows it to be a little bit more seamless. So I 100% would get one of these. As far as a Blink Smart doorbell, you can have a doorbell that, shows your stuff for Philips Hue lights. So we have these all around our house and it links to our doorbell, as well as my fiance put up this awesome system, which I can show you guys later, that goes behind our TV. So instead of surround sound, we have surround lighting. So it goes off, it's like super cool. I'll have to show you guys on videos. It's awesome. It's on my Instagram. So for lead stroke smoke alarm clocks, you can have these because obviously you can't hear the fire alarm going off. I almost lit my house on fire a few times before this. Hearing aids. So a lot of people who are losing their hearing are like, I'm not missing anything. Well, that's because you don't know what you're missing. So if you're losing your hearing, you definitely need to consider hearing aids. They're kind of annoying to put in at first. They kind of hurt a little bit, my experience, but you get used to them. And they really help. They especially help in like restaurants because it helps with like the speech enunciation. So I definitely recommend them. And I have the Vicross ones. What the Vicross ones do is they're a mic, because I was deaf on the side, and it Bluetooths over to this side. So it Bluetooths my good ear. So definitely ask for those because they're really awesome. Cochlear implants, some people can get cochlear implants that are NF2 patients, but not a lot of people get cochlear implants. So some people do. So it's important to find it out there. You have to get testing for it. So there's that.
So I have two auditory brain stem implants, and I want to make sure everyone knows that this, what they are. But pretty much when I was 18, sorry, I have to think about all my surgeries. During my second surgery, I received the left auditory brain stem implant, and I was lucky enough to receive my right side auditory brain stem implant in 2023. Both are functional. I wouldn't say I can understand with them. It helps mainly in lip reading. It helps and improves my lip reading. And therapy, it's very important. I know we all dread therapy, or at least I do, but I feel so much better after I go. And I think it's a different experience. And I will point out that emotionally, it's another hurdle. I wouldn't use my left AVI for 5 years until I went deaf and had my fourth surgery on my right. And it's only when I lost complete hearing that I came to terms with the fact that I need to use it.
Can't get at this clicker. Okay, so communication. So transcribe apps and phone calls. So transcription apps, you have Otter, Live Transcribe, and Ava. Those are going to be your best guys. Otter and Ava work on iPhone. Now, I cannot stress this enough. This is so important to point out. So Live Transcribe is not available on Apple. Live Transcribe Plus, Live Transcribe Plus is not the same as Live Transcribe. Do you see how it's a backwards app? It's a different company. Honestly, they should get sued, but I have enough problems. So that's really important for phone calls. You can use audio or a caption. This is now turned to caption call, but this is the one that I use. And it's like a text message. So when I'm reading, it's like a text message and then I just say it back, which is pretty cool. For TV captions, Apple, for some reason, has better streaming TV captions, whereas Android just takes the whole scroll. Like, I don't know what the deal is with that, but you can't even see the movie, so it's kind of pointless. Google Meets and Zoom. Now, Zoom has actually recently gotten better, I will say. Has gotten better on captioning, and Google Meets is a little wonky. I worked with Google this past year, so I put in a message to them letting them know that they need to fix this. Caption glasses. Everybody asked me about caption glasses, and I have them with me. So if you want to try them, I have them with me. Here's the problem with caption glasses. The problem with caption glasses, all caption glasses, these are even, I don't know if it's realities or realities. I think it's realities. But even realities are the best ones in the market and they look the best. But the problem with them is the application is not in the glasses themselves. You have to have a phone. So what happens is it beams up and it beams back down to your phone and it transcribes it beams back, causing a lag. And that legal lag in communication makes a huge difference. So they're not quite there yet until they embed them into the glasses, which is coming. They're not quite there yet. I met with the inventor of Ava also, and so I inventor of Ava, and they're coming out with these glasses. It's not out yet, but they're coming out with these glasses that they have recorded speech recognition for the past 7 years. So they now know the different speakers and the way that they pick up. So with the glasses, it's going to be able to differentiate the speakers. So it's coming. It's not quite there yet. I'm on it. Lots of apps. So SoundFriend, this is really cool. So this is for restaurants. So a lot of times you're like, restaurants are so loud, right? Like how I'm going to communicate with somebody in restaurants, and a lot of deaf people or hard of hearing people struggle with this. So this is an app that you can download. And essentially what it does is you can see all the restaurants and their noise level. Now, it would be awesome if everybody downloaded this app because you can also record and give back to the community, which is really cool. And I'm really trying to promote that. I don't even know the company, but I believe them. Nyosh? What is that? I'm not sure. Nyosh? So this is the decibel labs. Right now I'm trying to learn the levels of decibels that I need to be able to speak of how loud I am, because that's something that a lot of deaf people struggle with, is being loud. I don't know, I've always been loud, but I got extra. Lip reading, there's Lip Reading Academy, which is okay, honestly, until you get a deaf lip reading, it's just kind of hard. Apple now has FaceTime captions. I FaceTime everybody with the captions, and it's just so fun because I can see their face. It's great. Love it. Big fan. So Apple and Android, they have live captioning now. So if a video is not captioned, you can go to their accessibility on the Mac, on the desktop, on the phone, and it will caption it for you, which is really, really nice. That came out in the past couple of years. And also too, Android, Google now has it's called expressive captions. I did a video on Instagram, but it's called expressive captions. And essentially what that is it talks about the emphasis of stuff, like screaming loud. So a lot of times we miss that as deaf people. So it talks kind of about like those emphasis on things that give the meaning to kind of help bring you back to understanding, laughing, so you're with it. Deaf gear and devices, I have all of these. So my good friend Joss was like, I have the premium setup. And my good friend Joss was like, not everyone can afford that setup, McKinnon, Love my NF2 friends because they keep you growing. So I have this setup because I worked with Google, and it's going to run you around $1,500. It's not cheap, I know. But just found the Samsung phone, it's $40. I was like, wow. And I compared it against both of them, and I have both of them so that you can see. But you need an Android phone, and you really need to get a separate phone. Do you see how that separate phone, other than my phone? You really need to get a separate phone because that is so unbelievably important, because it's really annoying being like, let me show you something. oh wait, we can't talk about it. I have to go back to my app so we can talk about it. Like, you need a separate phone. This is $40, So like, I feel like that's pretty affordable. And a mic is so important with it. Now, here's the reason why. Say you're trying to have a conversation, me and Christine are trying to have a conversation, right? Obviously, that phone is not going to pick me up, right? But she needs to be able to see it. So I can't be having a conversation like this. It just makes it difficult. So with a mic, I can be talking like this and she can still see it. And it's really nice because the mic is right up to your mouth. So that way they can understand, especially in noisy restaurants. So it is super helpful. So I would definitely recommend a mic. Accessories. So I have this guy. I can't pull it off. I have this guy with this strap that goes over with my phone, because if it wasn't attached to me, I'd lose it. And a lot of times, like, you set your phone down and you don't think about it, but it's just on you all the time. It's just really easy. And I have, it's called a Luger vest. It's a haptics vest for music. And it basically goes on and it vibrates to the level of music. I'm going to be honest, it's not quite there yet. So we're getting there.
So,
click it. I'm sorry.
Sorry, we don't play this side. This is really important to me, just having a healthy mindset. And I'm a very goal-oriented person, so I love having my mind organized so I can achieve these goals. And I just want to share a little bit about how important it is to have a support system, first of all. Family, friends, teachers, teammates on the football team, colleagues, anyone that would support you and listen to you and help you navigate. Because as a deaf patient and individual, it can be hard to navigate things on my own. And so I have many individuals who are just my SOS communicators, like my dad. So routine schedule. I want to emphasize, I'm 25, so we all need to, everyone, no matter your age, you need to have a little fun in your life. But I do think having a regular routine schedule, just, waking up similar times of the day, if you work, completing your tasks, completing homework for me, because I feel like it takes away some of the stress if you stay on top of your chores. And, I know cleaning isn't everyone's favorite, so sometimes that gets pushed a couple of days down the line during the week for me. But I'll just point out last, ask for help if you need it. I asked my parents, my dad deals with my insurance stuff and all the stuff I don't want to deal with, I give to my dad to deal with. So believe me, it's okay to ask for help. And no matter the age, it's one of the strongest things you can do. It doesn't make you weak. It actually shows that you're a pretty tough person. And yeah.
All behind.
So again, this kind of goes back to what I was saying. Each point in my journey, losing my hearing, the facial paralysis, having my first brain surgery. I think I said all those things backwards, but we get the idea. It's important that we, first off, everyone's on a different journey, right? So we all accept things at different points. And I mentioned it's an ever-evolving journey. I'm still not totally accepting myself, but I'm learning. That's the key, learning to accept yourself. And I will get there. I'm keeping that positivity because I am learning, continuing. I love to learn in general. And so like I said, I'm still learning. And again, when you're trying to accept yourself emotionally and psychologically, it's It's not only being accepted by others, but it's you accepting yourself. So there's 2 layers to it. And well, my friends have accepted me, and of course my parents accept me. What are they going to tell me? No. But, so they're very motivational, and just they're motivating me to accept myself more. So it goes both ways, and it can really help. And if you ever need someone to talk to, maybe I'm here for you. I may not be able to listen, but I will read what you say. Whatever you want to tell me, I will read it. And yeah, I'm gonna embarrass my family a little bit. This is just some of my family. And my brother, most recently, he lives in Japan for work, and came and surprised me for my graduation. I had no idea. And so that's him outside. Obviously, I'm deaf. He's banging on the window. I have no idea. So that was really funny and at the same time really frustrating. But in any case, these are some of the individuals that are closest to me and I know I can lean on. So.
Okay, one thing I forgot to say is that for your live transcribe, the reason you need live transcribe over Ava and Otter is because the text-to-speech is faster. So that is why you need to choose that over Otter. So anyways, any questions? All right, thanks guys. I really appreciate everybody being here. That's all I got. We have packets, and then afterwards, if you guys want to come up to me, it seems like 40 pages long. So if you guys is like what it's like to lose your hearing, it's like some products, where to get them, it's how the family can communicate with you, some tips and tools. So it's got a lot of resources in it. If you guys have any questions, and I have them with Deaf Technology with me. So if you're curious, come up and ask.
Yeah, we could try to touch on everything. We just don't have time for that.
While you all are thinking about if you have any questions, I have a quick announcement to read about where you're going next. If you're joining us for the zoo tonight, the shuttles will be picking you up at the front of the hotel between 6:15 and 7. If you want to walk or drive, you need to show the zoo pass in the app to the security at the zoo when you arrive. If you ride the shuttle, you'll not need the pass. We will be serving food and refreshments, and the shuttles will start to bring people back to the hotel between 8:45 and 9 p.m. And there's no programming. This is a fun and social evening to look at pandas and birds and elephants. While I was reading that, did anyone have a question? I'd be happy to walk the microphone over to you if you do. Oh, we have a question.
What microphone do you recommend for live transcribe?
What microphone? Oh, it's in your pocket. But the microphone that I would recommend is called a Smart Mic Plus. So for microphones in general, so there's one that depends on the setting that you want to have. So for microphones in general, I have this one that's called a Smart Mic Plus. And the reason this one is good for one-on-one conversation is a very directional mic. And the problem with live transcribe, and I'm working with Dimitri on this, who invented it. The problem with live transcribe is you only can program one mic into it. And I'm like, why can't we have like one mic for that person, one mic for this person, one mic for this person? Like if I'm sitting around a dinner table, why can't everybody have a mic and then we program like their names into it? Like how hard is this, right? I know nothing about apps, but I'm like, this can't be that hard. And so with my one that I'm using, I just got this new one. Oh, we can't get back. I just got this new one. That's an Omni. It's a dual mic and it inputs into one system, essentially. And so I'm trying to figure out, I just got it in like 3 days ago. So I'm just trying to figure out, if that mic and how well it works and how well it picks up. But this one is the best one for direct mic translation. And it's in your pocket as well as an additional one. This one runs about $115. And the additional one runs and it has about 4 to 6 hours of like time, battery life. And there's additional one that's like $50 that is a work in progress that I'm testing. So I hope that helps.
We have another question.
So, my son is 21 and he completely doesn't want anything to do with NF anything. Like he doesn't want to hear anything about anything. He won't listen to any of the things that I bring back to him. And I'm just wondering how I'm hoping that someday he'll like want to get involved and want to know more things. What was did either of you have that kind of experience that you were like, I don't want to deal with this? Or were you always so gung-ho, bubbly the way you are now?
A lot growing up, so I tried to hide my NF for a long time. And then when I was in high school, I decided that, when I started clinical trial, I realized that I just needed to accept who I was, and that NF2, it doesn't define me, but it helps, it contributes to the tough. I like to think of myself, pardon my French, as a tough-ass girl. It contributes to my personality. So I'm very, very, it helps in all sorts of ways. And I think coming around to it, for your question, like I said, a couple slides ago, it's when you're ready. Everyone's on a different journey, but I would recommend not avoiding the conversation. Don't try to minimize his NF. Just be honest, talk honestly, and don't be afraid to bring it up, because it's something that he's gonna have to get used to. But I think also you're gonna have to gauge emotionally. There's also therapists you can go to, but I think that emotionally it's a personal experience. But as a parent, don't try to minimize their NF.
So my advice would be that obviously he's grieving, right? I mean, that's what it all comes down to for me. I went in denial for like 8 years. So like it happens, okay? And like when I first got diagnosed as person, I went to this private school and they called me the sick kid. And I came home and I was like, I want to transfer schools. Like I want to transfer, so I did. And I transferred and I didn't tell anybody about it. A select few of my friends knew, but I like really wanted nothing to do with it. I went to my treatments and I went home and I just like did not talk about it, right? So I mean, and then look at all I've done and how involved I am now. So he really needs to come into it on his own. My advice for you, if he's struggling with facial paralysis, balance issues, or anything like that, is to go ahead and get the tools in the house, right? So if your balance issues, go ahead and get that stepping stool. Right? And don't say anything. Just put it in the house so he knows that he can use a double-sided railing. Just go ahead and give him the tools he needs so he can process it and realize that he's set up and can be as independent as possible so he can emotionally process it. So that's my advice of what I would do.
I'm going to get this question and then I'll come back to you. Okay.
So I'm just curious, for those of us who aren't tech savvy, technology is changing so quickly. Where do you find these gizmos and this technology that are so beneficial and so helpful? But is there a clearinghouse? And I see Tina here. Maybe that's for her program tomorrow. I know she's going to be talking about it, but it's just a big world out there on the web. So do you have any insight as to how best to navigate that?
Yeah, thanks for embarrassing me.
So that is why I'm here. I am the researcher. Okay. I've worked with this company, and a lot of these other companies. things, right? So like I am that person, and a lot of people send me deaf technology that's on the market. When I first started losing my hearing, I researched for 3 hours a night every night for like 2 years. So I've always been a tech nerd, right? Like our whole house, my fiance was big tech nerds. So that's why I created this platform. And I actually, if you go out there and you scan that thing, there's a folder that I'm going to be updating, and I talk about it on my social media, the latest and greatest things that are coming down the pike, because I have all these ends, and I worked with Google for a year. So they went through all the stuff and how it is and what was coming out and that kind of stuff. So like, that's all I know about the caption glasses that are coming out. Like I tried even the realities, and like, I'm going to be honest with you guys, you know what I'm saying? The stuff isn't there, and I don't want you to waste your money. So like, I kind of compiled we don't have time to really focus on this. I mean, I do, because it's like my job. But a lot of us don't have time to focus on this. We're in the hospital. There's a lot of trials. It's a lot of stress. And like spending all that time in something that you're not that passionate about. You need somewhere just to go. This is what you download. This is the best of the best that is here. And that's what I'm doing. So I have a 2025 version of Best Tech. And then I'll come out with 2026. And I'll make sure to keep everybody updated. But that's my platform, is I talk about like most updated stuff on how to bridge that gap.
I promised that I would come back to you.
Hi, this is sort of a related question. I actually had come across this awesome article in the New Yorker about a month ago, detailing like just the explosion of all these different like deaf technologies. And I actually showed this article to Dr. Flotkin in my last appointment, but I wanted to ask you if you've ever tried those, like they mentioned in this article, 2 companies that make these like transcribing glasses. One is called Xander Glass, and the other is called Transcribe Glass. I'm wondering if you've tried either of them, and if you have a preference.
What is it called?
Oh, the captioning glasses, like those glasses you wear that caption when someone's talking. Have you tried those at all?
So, okay, I'm not trying to be like, so I know every caption glass thing that's on the market, right? I've tried them all. Like it's amazing what fear can do when you're like, go deaf and you can't connect with things. So one of the things about the caption glass is like, that's why this one is the best. So the transcribe glass, I worked with Tom on them. Like when they first started coming out, I worked with him on them. And first of all, they came out with ones that I loved that he wanted them affordable to everyone, which was really great. I love that. But he put it on the glasses. It was like a device that you put on the glasses. And I'm like, come on, like I don't want to look weird having a bunch of technology on my face, like that's, I'm not trying to do that, right? Like these alarm clocks and stuff, I like wrote them and I was like, can you make them look like, like for adults? So anyway, so the biggest thing, they just came out with the actual glasses. I still think they look, personally, like I've looked at them, Xander glasses are $5,000 first.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
$5,000. And I feel like that is like a no. I reached out to the company. I hate the way they look. I absolutely hate the way they look, and I wouldn't wear them.
Yeah.
Just based on their look, like I just wouldn't wear them, and that's why these look, I mean, I can show you, I'll show you in a second, but I can show you like those glasses, they look like legit glasses. Like they actually look like legit glasses, but as far as the companies, I mean, I'm happy to do like a resource pamphlet. Like if you guys scan that and put it in the forward of every single caption glass company and what I think on the market about them. But I am on the hunt, and I promise you, these are the best ones that are out. And that's why I actually reached out to that company to partner with them. So I try to partner with the companies that like I believe in. Google will not make any more glasses. I asked them, and they just said the market is not there for them right now. But the reason is, so in 2008, there used to be a surge of deaf technology, and it kind of quieted out for a long time. But now everybody's losing their hearing because they're not protecting their ears, which kind of joy. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not like that sad, but. And so a lot of people are into this deaf technology because nobody's protecting their ears, right? So it's kind of been this surge recently, which has been awesome for us. And that's why all these caption glass companies have come out recently. If you notice in the past 3 years, a lot of this stuff has really emerged. And that is why it's because everybody, so this massive market is coming out for it. And that's where it's coming from. If I'm on it, I know all of them. I'll write them down for you, not a problem.
Yeah, I think the pandemic really did a lot of that, just with like masking. I think even for people that have normal hearing, didn't realize how much they're actually relying on just some basic lip reading to augment what they're hearing. And so and also with the masks, they would, sort of muffle sound. And so I think that, like you said, I know for myself with work, like there's just an explosion since the pandemic of all these different devices. And it's really awesome because I feel like it's a lot easier to feel included and part of the conversation than it was, 5-10 years ago. So I'm all for it.
100%. 100%.
Any other questions? Yes, one more right here.
Hi again. As a communication partner for a late deafened adult, what is the best advice you have for us?
Here, sorry. Are you saying that if your partner's deaf or you're deaf?
My friend is deaf, and I want to look for helpful advice.
Are you saying like a deaf hearing couple?
Yeah, I want to be better. Tell me how.
Is my advice. Patience. It's been a huge adjustment. That was my biggest adjustment, was because I spent all my time with it, right? You have to remember, like I said, we did not have these technologies out. And so that has been a huge game changer. And so we just kind of sat there and looked at each other in times, and like we've taken trips where it just wasn't great. And we just were like, maybe one day. So the technology is definitely going to help patients. Do you have anything for relationships?
I'm just going to add, with my family, we still fight and get aggravated. So it's not, patience doesn't come naturally in my household. But I think it's also, you have to go with the flow. It's not my dad, don't worry. It's mainly my mom. Well, forget I said that, Okay, it is my mom. But anyway, I think it's important to go with the flow. So, and one of my friends, instead of using captioning, she just writes on her phone everything she wants to tell me. So, however, you have to it's a little bit, you have to work in the moment to see what's working. But once she and I found that was the best way for her and I to communicate, that's the only way we communicate, really. And, it's a little hard when I'm cooking and she's trying to write me text, but we got through it. And again, patience. So I think that you just have to go a little bit. I like planning, but sometimes it's just in the moment. You have to take it with a grain of salt and whatever works.
I think that, I completely agree with that. You just have to figure out your vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just have to figure out, like, what works for you guys. One of the hardest things, and I have this in my communicating with our barriers, is a lot of people who are hearing people, they get frustrated because they don't know what to do, but it comes off like you're a pro, right? Like, it comes off like when they're like, and it comes off like, we get it, it takes extra effort, right? But being hearing, like, I will tell you, it's not that hard. It's really not that hard. And sometimes people make it seem like, they're running a 5K. You know what I'm saying? And you're worth it, right? You have to keep saying, like, I would do this for them. I'm worth it. So patience, finding your vibe.
Well, thank you so much. This was so resourceful and hilarious and just so good. So thank you both so much.